Welcome back to Sunrise Today. Well, we'll be talking about the recently launched tax initiative, and we'll have to head to Abuja. Mark?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. We're hoping that we'll be able to set the scene for our viewers. But nevertheless, we have with us Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, who is Nigeria's finance minister. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Morning.
Good morning. Was it on Friday or was it Thursday last week? We saw the acting president signing another executive order. Is it declaring a tax holiday for 1 year? About time for people to be able to, pay up on their taxes? What precisely was that about?
Okay, well, the voluntary asset, and good morning, the voluntary asset and income declaration scheme, which the president launched and signed an executive order on Thursday, is a 9-month scheme. And what it does is it allows Nigerian taxpayers, both individuals and companies, to regularize their tax affairs. We've done quite a lot of work over the last 15 months looking at tax compliance in Nigeria. Our tax to GDP ratio is 6%. It's one of the lowest in the world. So we did a study. Why are Nigerians not paying tax, or why are tax revenues so low? And what we found was there's massive tax evasion on a major scale. A lot of people are not registered. Many of those who are registered are not paying the right taxes. And we now have the data. We actually engaged a team of experts to begin to trawl through data. And what we found was that in many, many cases, people's lifestyle, which should really be from their taxed income, did not correlate with their tax returns. So there was massive tax evasion. For example, we looked at properties abroad. We looked at properties in high value areas. We looked at BVN. We found that some people's assets and lifestyle, when compared to their tax returns, so give an example, you have somebody with 5 or 6 properties, but yet have a tax clearance that shows they paid 150,000 naira for the year. So that's the sort of evasion on that sort of scale that we saw.
When you say that, we get the sense that you have been investigating the assets of some Nigerians around the country.
Yes, we have. We've been working on that for 15 months now. From various sources. Technology has been very, very helpful in enabling us to build accurate financial profiles of Nigerians. So from BVN, from Forex records, from foreign property records. We also engaged one of the world's leading private investigation firms, and they actually trace assets abroad. So it all started really with the fight against corruption. We were trying to trace stolen money, and then they were coming back to us and saying, no, your problem is also untaxed money. A lot of money has gone out of Nigeria, bought properties in high-scale areas, and they were giving us this data. So we then began to look very, very closely at the issue of tax compliance. And when we saw the level of non-compliance, we just decided the best thing for us to, rather than pursue everybody, is open a window and allow everybody to voluntarily regularize their status.
So from your investigations and from what you finally found, by how much would you say Nigeria has been shortchanged on a yearly basis?
Oh, it's significant. As I say, the tax to GDP ratio is 6%. Now, Ghana's at 15.9. Most developed countries are at about 30. So it's really, really very fundamental. Very few people are paying the right taxes. I think in the acting president's speech, he gave some statistics that we picked up from the FIRS. We said, okay, how many people are paying 20 million naira or more? Now, to pay 20 million naira in tax means you have an income of 80 million. For the whole country, 214. And all of them are in Lagos State. So are we saying that there are no rich people anywhere else in the country? And are we saying there are only 214 who are earning 80 million or more in the whole country? It's not possible. So those were the sorts of things that informed the need to actually declare a window of opportunity for people to do the right thing. We have the data, and what we thought was, if you go and pursue everybody, you'll spend years in court pursuing tax evaders. So let's open a window. Let's allow those who want to regularize, declare honestly, to do the right thing, and then that leaves those who don't, who we can then use the data that we have to pursue.
So precisely, how is this going to work? I mean, you have a 1-year window, perhaps starting from this July, right?
Yes, 9 months.
9 months?
Yes, it's 9 months.
It's actually less than a year.
Yes.
Okay, so what are you looking to see in this 9 months when this window is open?
So each taxpayer, that's company or individual, has a window. There are forms for companies and forms for individuals that they can honestly declare. And effectively what they're doing is they're restating their tax returns. They're basically saying that in the previous 5-6 years, I did not declare all my income sources. I'm now coming clean and I'm declaring those income sources properly. Now, ordinarily, when you restate your tax return, you should pay penalties. The penalty is 10%, and you should pay interest of up to 21% per annum. We're saying, okay, we'll waive those penalties, we'll waive that interest if you declare fully and honestly. And we're giving 9 months to do so. Now, in January 2018, there's something called the automatic exchange of information that kicks in, which Nigeria is a party to, which means automatically from all the tax havens, from all the other countries, we will automatically get access to information on Nigerians, particularly abroad.
So you're also looking to gather information on tax havens, I mean,
yes.
people who store money
yes.
in tax havens.
Absolutely.
Or who have companies
yes.
in tax havens.
We already have quite a lot. One of the sources that the project looked at were the Panama Papers, WikiLeaks, did a lot of data mining, picked up Nigerian names. And so we've built really very accurate tax profiles of a number of people. And it's very, very clear that they're not paying the right taxes.
You talked about Nigerians. I think at some point you said you were cooperating with the government of the United Kingdom
yeah.
on trying to get the number of Nigerians who own properties
yeah.
in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
What were you able to find?
Well, we significant high value property ownership by Nigerians. Interestingly, on yesterday, I think on BBC, another channel, but on BBC there was this program, Lagos to London, and they were actually profiling how many properties were purchased by Nigerians in highbrow areas of London. The Nigerians had a taste for this type of property, and they were given values. And when you then marry that with how much tax people are paying at home, it's just unfair. I mean, there's a sense of unfairness, and I think the British, the Americans, the UAE, the Canadians, interestingly, we hadn't contacted them. They came to us to say, you haven't looked at us. We have a lot of your citizens who own properties in Canada.
So how is it supposed to work? If they own property abroad, are they supposed to pay taxes to Nigeria for properties they own abroad?
Right. So the issue is that property abroad, when you purchased it, where did the money come from? If that money came from Nigeria and you're you're tax resident in Nigeria, one would assume that you've paid tax on that money before you bought the property. So if you've paid your taxes, you bought a property for, let's say, 100 million, and we can see that in the preceding years you have declared income of 100 million, then we don't have any problem with you. But what we are seeing is that you bought a property worth 100 million, but your tax declaration suggests that you only earn £1 million a year. So the question then is, where did you get that money to buy that property? That's where the tax situation attaches, and we could go after that property and say, it's either you stole the money, or you just didn't declare tax on it. Either one is a crime. So we're giving people an opportunity, because now we can see their assets. We can work backwards and say, okay, how did you finance those assets? If you say you borrowed the money, fine, show us where you borrowed it from. If you say you inherited the property, show us who you inherited it from. But if you are not able to show where you got that money from, then our assumption is that that is income that you earned in Nigeria on which you didn't pay the right taxes.
How much are we looking to rake in at the end of this exercise?
Well, I haven't set a specific target because it's very difficult. Anything over $1 billion would be great, but let me just give you some context. A couple of countries have done this, and they've raised anything from between $7 billion and $15 billion. So it really does depend on how much compliance we get from Nigerians. And it's not just high net worth Nigerians, incidentally, though they are a big target. Companies as well. We found a lot of companies evading taxes, paying minimum tax, shifting profits to other jurisdictions through transfer pricing to make sure that Nigeria gets a very small percentage of the money that's actually generated in Nigeria. And even at the lower level, we're also finding massive tax evasion. We only have 14 million taxpayers in Nigeria, and the majority of them, about